Hello, I am an old fart, and I have a guilty pleasure. I like knives. I'm not an expert or an official representative of anything or anybody in any way. I just like knives. And you've been accompanying me on a tour through my collection of small folding pocket knives. And here I am taking those gray references away that I forgot to remove before. Today we're going to have a look at this beautiful, tiny little knife. Maybe the perfect gentleman's knife, as we'll get to in a second. This is a Chris Reeve Mnandi. So let's talk a bit about how this came to be in the collection and what it's like. I've wanted one of these for a long time. According to sort of my definition of what I'm interested in pocket knives, this is basically sort of the non-threatening gentleman's knife, which is the thing I say I collect. I almost bought one several times. They don't come up on the used market very often, but now and then. But early this year, Chris Reeve announced some changes that were coming that I thought were worth waiting for. We'll get to what those changes are in a moment, but that made me decide I wanted one of the new ones. I buy a lot of my knives used, in fact, most of them I'd say, but I don't expect to see these on the used market anytime soon. So I found a distributor and got on their waiting list for when they had the new models in stock. That happened recently, and here it is. So let's go through a description formally then. This is Chris Reeve Knives, CRK, the Mnandi. And like all of his knives, their names are drawn from the Zulu language. This is spelled M-N-A-N-D-I. And after doing some reference, I've concluded that it should not be pronounced Mnandi, but rather the M is almost silent. It just hints at itself at the beginning of the word. So it's almost Nandi, except you put the M on. So Nandi. Now, I'm not an expert, but I've listened to some videos of South African and Zulu speakers explaining their pronunciation rules, and I think that's right. So anyway, this is the 2021 model, which is almost identical to previous models. Some small changes. The two primary changes are that the blade has been modified. The former nail nick is now a through hole that goes clearly through the blade, making it a little easier to open. And they've upgraded the steel from S35 VN to S45 VN. They are gradually rolling that out in all of their knives. Now, the Mnandis are intended to be a decorative knife, so they all come with various wood inlays. There's no plain titanium model available. This one is the box elder wood inlay, and I think it's really beautiful. Come back to that. So let's talk through it. So the mechanism, first of all, I knew this, but it still kind of surprised me a bit when I actually got one and opened it, because it looks like a slip joint. It looks like a traditional grandfather's jackknife. So opening it, and it goes clunk, because it's not a slip joint, it's actually a frame lock using the standard Chris Reeve frame lock mechanism with their beautiful, secure clunk of a lock. So it is a titanium frame lock knife, but opening from a hole in the blade. Now for me, the beautiful and easy opening is to just pull it with two hands, and you get that lovely clunk. You can thumb it open, using the hole there, but I must say that, for my arthritic old hands, it's not easy. I certainly can't flick it open. Now, Chris Reeve actually is pretty clear that he doesn't want his knives flicked open, so that's probably not a big deal. But I don't find it easy to open with one hand. But if I was ever in a situation where I had to open it with one hand because my other hand was occupied with something, I could do that. Like all Chris Reeve knives, it runs on phosphor bronze washers, so it's very smooth and very close tolerances and fabulous machining throughout. This is a small knife, so let's talk about the size. It's 161 millimeters, which is small. That's about 0.9 pocket calculators, so smaller than many of my knives as compared to some actual knives. Start with Chris Reeve knives, so it's slightly smaller than the small Sabenza. So I think that makes it Chris Reeve's smallest knife. Try to find something smaller. Well, it is slightly larger than the Almar Hawk Titanium Ultralight. And I will say, what a difference. Because this knife, when I talked to you about it some weeks ago, I said, I like it, it's neat, it's certainly compact, but it feels flimsy. The Mnandi certainly does not feel flimsy. My standard knife that I typically compare things to is the Mini Grip Tilion, and it is almost, in length, almost the same size as the Mini Grip, slightly smaller, but almost the same size. Of course, in width, completely different sort of style. So anyway, that gives you an idea of the size. Now in weight, this is a very light knife. It is heavier than the Almar, which is surprising. So 43 grams for 40. So it's heavier than that, but it's lighter than everything else I've shown you. It's lighter than the Mini Grip, almost half the Mini Grip Tilion. But the same as the TRM Nerd, their tiny little knife. One that it's interesting to compare it to, and we're going to come back to this, is the CRKT CEO, which is kind of CRKT's faux carbon fiber, faux fountain pen gentleman's knife. It's lighter than this, so we'll come back to that. It actually makes a very good suit pocket gentleman's knife. So a small, light knife. The blade is 2 3/4 inches, so under 3 inches. That matters in places. And it's a clip point blade. Interestingly, you do a Google search for Mnandi specifications. Most of the sites that come up, I guess they're all copying text from one another. Most of them say that it is a drop point blade. I mean, look at it, it clearly isn't. The difference is that on a drop point blade, the back of the blade is supposed to be convex the entire way to the tip, and on a clip point, it becomes slightly concave. So clearly a clip point blade. And it has Chris Reeve's common and gorgeous hollow grind. Not quite as large a radius hollow grind as on some of their knives, but you can still see, if I get the reflection there, you can see that the so-called flat of the blade is not flat, but a gentle concave curve, and it's very beautiful. Titanium body throughout, and wood inlays. Again, all the Mnandis have wood inlays. Your only choices are which wood. The clip is worth commenting on the Mnandi because it is beautiful. It's a work of art. It's milled. It has beautiful decorative groove milled into it in a sort of an elongated V shape. The Chris Reeve logo, there we are, milled into the end. Just a real pretty work of art. It can be mounted on either side, making it ambidextrous in terms of what side you carry on. But it's not an ambidextrous knife. I mean, it is a frame lock, so the locking mechanism is on one side. However, they do make a left-hand version, so you can get a fully left-handed or a fully right-handed version. You can also remove the clip entirely, get a screw to fill the hole, and then have a clipless knife. And it does come with a very nice leather pocket slip as well, which clipless, you'd want that. And I tend to keep it in there anyway, just to protect it from all the other things that are rattling around in my pockets. No lanyard hole, and it really wouldn't make any sense on a tiny knife like this. And for those of you who care, it is a US manufactured product. This one doesn't say Idaho made on it anywhere that I've been able to find, but it might be hidden on the inside somewhere. But anyway, like all Chris Reeve knives, it is. So that's the description of the knife. Let's go through some likes and try to find some dislikes. So what I like a lot of things about it. I like the beautiful scales. It's kind of the first thing you see when you take this knife out of your pocket is that gorgeous wood. And being wood, being organic, every one is unique, which is beautiful and just adds to the pleasure of owning the knife. Now, the wood does require some maintenance. Chris Reeve recommends that you keep it clean, and they recommend that you wax it every now and then with Renaissance wax or something similar. Just in case you don't know what that is, by the way. This is Renaissance wax. It is a petroleum-based wax, white, very fine, very pleasant smell. So that's Renaissance wax. So they recommend a coat of that every now and then, and I actually like doing that. I like the smell of the wax and the feel that I'm doing something to help preserve the beautiful knife. I like the fact that it's unadorned. As far as I can find, there's only writing on the knife in 2 places, and that's here, the Chris Reeve logo, there we are, in the clip, and here the Chris Reeve logo. Can I find that? There we are, the Chris Reeve logo on the pivot screw. Nothing else. So unadorned, doesn't feel compelled to brag about itself, its website, its steel, its birth date, any of those things. And I like that. I like simple knives. Talked about the clip already. It is beautiful. It also holds well. And a nice thing about this clip is that, and it's the reason I mentioned the CRKT CEO earlier, is it makes it possible to wear this knife in your pocket like a pen. Let me just show you what I mean. Here's the CRKT CEO. So here's and it's designed sort of to look sort of like a fountain pen. Here's the CRKT CEO going into a suit jacket pocket. And you can see it sits in there and looks kind of fountain pen-like. And that's by design. Now, when I reviewed the CEO, I did mention one problem is that since it is a square corner at the bottom, you do get this little bulge in the pocket. And it's not a perfect sit in the pocket. But it nevertheless is attractive and a neat way to carry it with a suit. Well, the Mnandi is very much the same. It is so small and light, and with that gorgeous clip, you can slide it into a suit or a shirt pocket, and just the clip protrudes. And I don't know, to me, that looks like a high-end pen. It certainly doesn't shout knife, and no bulge, so it carries very cleanly in a suit or shirt pocket, and I like that. So, the opening mechanism is good. I like opening it two-hand. It's smooth and easy, and you get that Chris Reeve clunk when the lock engages. And unlike some tiny knives, you can easily unlock this one-handed. There is a recess here, so there's lots of room to get your thumb against the lock bar and initiate a closing operation. With some knives, like the Almar, it is so cramped in here that it is quite difficult to disengage. There we are. Disengage the lock bar with one hand. So not so on the Mnandi. I think I like the new steel, S45 VN steel. Honestly, I haven't had it very long, and I can't honestly say I noticed any difference. What I learned is Chris Reeve has been gradually switching over to it. It's been out on the Incosi for a couple of years now. And according to the things I've read, it is sort of incremental improvements across the board. It's slightly harder, slightly better edge retention, slightly better corrosion resistance. Generally a better steel, not outstanding or earth-shatteringly different, but an evolution in a good direction. So I like that. I haven't had any need to sharpen it yet, like most Chris Reeve knives. All Chris Reeve knives, I don't have all of them, do I? It came out of the box really sharp and beautifully symmetrical. Some knives, it bothers me that they are clearly not symmetrically sharpened, and I usually feel compelled to fix those. I haven't felt compelled to fix this, though that's a good thing. I like the hole in the blade. I didn't have one of the older knives, but this is certainly easy to get a hold of for opening, and you never slip. As I say, it does enable one-handed opening, but I still find that difficult. Apparently, you could open the other one one-handed too, but anyway, I find it difficult because of the cramped quarters, the small knife, my old arthritic hands, not because of anything about the design of the knife. Next thing I like is it is remarkably comfortable to hold for quick cutting jobs. I only get a 3-finger grip, but you don't feel anything. You don't feel the clip. It's small and compact. There are no hot spots. It's a really comfortable grip. Good jimping on the back for the thumb. So that's a very comfortable hold. Now, I probably would not want to do heavy work all day with it, because the dangling fourth finger would eventually become uncomfortable, because what's happening is it's making my fingernail dig into my palm, not because of the knife, because it just does that. Okay? So a 3-finger grip is probably not an all-day grip, but it is remarkably comfortable for holding and cutting with. Finally, I like that Chris Reeve knives are serviceable. You are allowed and indeed encouraged to disassemble them, to clean and lubricate and service. In fact, it comes with the tools to do that. It comes with the Allen wrench, a little tube of the grease that Chris Reeve uses, and even comes with this nice Chris Reeve chamois work mat. So for a place to do your work. So clearly this is a manufacturer that is okay with, in fact, likes you maintaining their knives. And I like that. I noticed, just learning that I could service it and seeing what I could adjust, I tried playing with the pivot tension. And what I discovered is that backing off the pivot tension a little bit made a big difference in opening the knife. I really couldn't open it one-handed at all as it came out of the box. And just loosening that pivot tension a little bit has made a big difference, and I can open it now. And it's still, there's no blade play. I guess, if I loosened it far enough, I would regret it. But loosening it just a little made a big difference in my ability to open it, and it still feels very sturdy. I wonder if they deliberately set them a little on the tight side for delivery or even for export. I know at least one vendor that does that over tightens their blades for export to reduce the chance that some overzealous import officer will be scared by the knife. And then they tell you, when you receive this knife, you'll want to back off the pivot screw a little bit. So I don't know if that's a deliberate thing on the part of Chris Reeve or not, but in any case, I like it, and that easy adjustment made a big difference. So what don't I like? Well, the only thing I can find to comment on that I don't like is just that fact that the one-handed opening, I'm getting better at it, but anyway, the one-handed opening is awkward. Maybe, as I practice, I'll get it. It's certainly not the same opening motion I'm used to on some other knives. I can obviously do it. Here I am doing it in front of you. But pretty much every time I try to open it one-handed, I have to do it as a two-step thing. I get it started, and then somewhere around here, I kind of run out of geometry. I can't move any farther, so I have to shift it in my hand to make some room for my joints. So maybe with time, I will learn to do it in a smooth, single opening operation. So, honestly, I tend not to. I tend to open it two hands because it's just easy and pleasant to do. So let's go through my internationally unknown knife rating systems. First, we'll do the NTGK rating, which is, of course, for non-threatening gentleman's knife. We'll do the NT, non-threatening, and the GK, gentleman's knife, separately. So for non-threatening, I'm going to give it an A+. I mean, it is really the non-threatening knife. The good news is, well, it's small, so it's not a scary-looking knife. Non-tactical. There's no weapony looking decorations, markings, or shapes on it. I think the wood scales give it an organic feeling, which make it less threatening and more sort of gentleman tool. The two-handed opening is lovely. That is non-threatening and can really only be opened slowly. If you want to open it with one hand, you can, but you can't flick it open. Nobody's going to react to it like a switchblade. And it is just, a work of art. So I don't know how you could make it more non-threatening. A+. I can't think of anything bad to say. As a gentleman's knife, on the other hand, I'm going to give it an A+ again. I know, why did I say on the other hand? Because I moved it into this hand. The good is, well, the brand, Chris Reeve, high-end luxury brand. And for any gentleman's accessory, and recognized, luxury brand is always a good thing. The smooth action just sort of makes it seem elegant. The work of art clip is beautiful, especially when you're wearing it where that's visible, like in a suit pocket. Wood scales are classy. Slip is classy. I really like, by the way, I like the Chris Reeve logo on it. Not logo, slogan, is that the right word? Think twice, cut once, helps reinforce that, as beautiful as it is, this is a tool. That's why I have it. So I'm going to give it an A+ as a gentleman's knife as well. NTGK overall, A+. How about the KN rating, which is, of course, my rating for what will my knife nerd friends think of this knife? Well, I'm going to give it an A+. The brand, everybody knows Chris Reeve brands. Not everybody has handled Mnandi, so it has that novelty cachet. It's the slow evolution of a great design. The steel upgrade, the whole upgrade just show constant care for this model and this brand. The smooth action is just beautiful to handle. Solid lock, no matter how slowly you open it, which is impressive. And the fact that you can service it yourself and that it comes with the tools to do it. Knife nerds will like all of those things. So I'm going to give it an A+ as a KN rating. And finally, the CMR, the cut myself rating. I typically say A for a knife where I have never cut myself. I'm going to give this one an A+, and I don't know why the plus. It just feels extra safe. So A+ is across the board. In terms of what I value in small folding gentleman's pocket knives, it just doesn't get any better than this. And that's kind of the summary too. I love this knife. This is one of the questions we ask ourselves all the time, right? If you could only have one knife, what would it be? And I don't know about the rest of you, but I usually sort of weasel my way out of answering that and say, well, it depends. You know, if it's for this purpose, it would be this knife. If it's raining out, it would be that knife. If I was in Lithuania, this would be my only knife. So what I'll say for this one is if I could only have one knife and the priority was non-threatening gentleman's knife, this would be the one. So, beautiful knife. Very pleased to own it. And I hope you've enjoyed having a look. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.